Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the second episode, the second iteration of Moonshots and Meatballs. I am your co-host, Josh Sharp, along with Andrew, Top Gun, liking that stash. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. About a week and a half in with this thing. Not
Yeah,
tired of it yet. I don't
you
know.
you got a code name yet?
Uh, Rooster Jr.
Okay.
Uh,
One of the bigger topics. We'll start off with what the AL MVP last year. I think had a lot of big highlights this past week. Shohei Ohtani had pitched went 8 innings, 10 plus strikeouts, no earned runs, absolutely dominant in his performance. And then with the bat, had a great couple of days in on Tuesday's game. Unfortunately, lost in extras, but had 8 RBIs, 3 hits, 2 home runs. Had a home run on Saturday. Has been really putting in the work to try to get the Angels back in this playoff race.
He's been hot lately, and as a someone lucky enough to get the first pick this year in their fantasy draft, I have Shohei on my team, and I can say this was a good week.
It has his OPS from before the week. It was at a 789. His OPS is now at an 830. So in a week, over 40 points, 41 points.
That's just the hitting, man. You get 8 innings shutout from your best hitter, RLL second best hitter in the lineup, but that's just unheard of, man.
Dominant. He is, again, like they said all of last year, and they're going to continue to say, he's doing things that we have never seen before, and we might never see again.
I don't think we'll ever see somebody have 8 RBIs one night and 13 strikeouts on the mound the next day, ever. I don't think I'll ever see that again in my life, unless Shohei does something crazy again, but I don't think we're going to see it again.
I think you're seeing a lot of uniqueness in baseball now, whether it be the stance in the batter's box, the way pitchers throw. I mean, have you seen now with obviously Shohei Ohtani pitching and hitting, have you seen this new prospect just on similar note who throws lefty and righty?
Yeah, he's got like the switch glove, 6
fingers. I mean, he's not expected to be a first round pick, but that's so interesting. You're seeing new ways to try to get into this game, and batters and hitters batters and pitchers are both going to have to adjust because they're seeing some things that they probably never thought they'd ever see before.
No, yeah, the sport of baseball is just going to keep on growing, and who knows what we're going to be seeing in 20 years. I mean, could we see somebody touch Ricky Henderson's steal record? Who knows?
That'd be crazy. I mean, is Judge going to touch the home run record?
It's an exciting time for baseball right now.
Yes, definitely. Most definitely. I think Shohei Ohtani is going to continue to be in the middle of it. But the Angels, they had a tough series versus Seattle. Ended what do they think? They were in the Stanley Cup Finals there? Like, oh my God. A couple of fists. Jesse Winker in the middle of it with Anthony Rendon with, like, you see the cast on his arm.
He's got the broken right hand. He's throwing jabs with the left.
I mean, it's ridiculous. The suspensions came out today, so I'll read them right now. Angels manager Phil Nevin for 10-game suspension. Mariners outfielder Jesse Winker, 7-game suspension. Oh, my fantasy team does not like that. Rendon has a 5-game suspension, which he will serve when he returns, which could be something big. Like if they somehow make a run and he has to sit a couple playoff games and he comes back, that could be huge.
I don't think he's got to worry about that.
I'm just saying. I get
what you're saying,
but also with the 5-game suspension, he cannot be on the Angels bench for the next 7 games, which is interesting. Poor him. Angels assistant pitching coach Dom Chidi has received a 5-game suspension. JP Crawford with a 5-game suspension. Angels pitcher Andrew Wantz receives a 3-game suspension. Angels pitcher Ryan Tepera receives a 3-game suspension. Raisel Iglesias receives it.
Ryan Tepera got an MVP vote with the Cubs 2 years ago.
Raisel Iglesias, their closer, got a 2-game suspension. Maybe rookie of the year for the Mariners. Julio Rodriguez got a 2-game suspension. Ray Montgomery got a 2-game suspension. The Angels major league interpreter, Manny Del Campo, has received a 2-game suspension, and the catching coach for the Angels has received a 1-game suspension in Bill Hausman. Oh,
I just love how many people in the dugout are getting hit with suspensions. Like, go to bat for your boys. I love it.
the translator.
The translator.
I find that crazy, but I it was cool to. I mean, there was 2 kind of iterations. I get why Jesse Winker was being mad after the game. He said, "I apologized for nothing except for giving the old double bird to the fans." He said they're here earning their hard-earned money, and that they didn't deserve that. As a Mets fan, we got a rivalry with Jesse Winker. I love the rivalry with him. I think he's a great player, brings a lot to the game. So, I'm not as much a hater on the fights as the brawls as most people are. Like, it's gonna happen once in a while. Let it out. As long as
rumble.
As long as you're not, listen, you don't want to see maybe like a Odor Bautista. Just, I mean, I kind of enjoy it, but you don't want to see anybody get hurt. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't want to see anybody get hurt. This is baseball. This isn't football, hockey, or boxing. But I do love seeing a good tussle once, and it's a little more violent than like basketball tussles where it's like they give a shove and it's, oh my god, like it ain't no Malice in the Palace anymore in NBA. But I do love seeing a good rumble in the MLB. Let out the emotions. There's just a couple good shoves, and then a couple. They're gonna break it up. I love seeing the bullpens though come in like 5 minutes after the fact. They ain't doing nothing. Just like, what's going on? How can we help? And like, you didn't do crap.
Hey, let the guys fight. These are grown men. They can choose to hash it out however they want. And I feel like the MLB needs to let off the reins a little bit. Create some rivalries, Create some cool rivalry. These are teams in the same division. They see each other all year.
They played.
Why not let there be a little bit of blood?
They played, I think it was 2 series in a span of like a week or 2 weeks. Yeah. So they saw each other a lot in the past week, so tensions were rising. And yeah, are you going to give out suspensions? This is baseball. You're going to have to give out suspensions. Of
course.
But I don't think you need to give out too many suspensions. I don't think it needs to be that egregious. And then if somebody gets hurt, then you can lash out the bigger suspensions. But as long as it's just kind of like pushing and shoving, I think it's good for the game. I think it creates a lot of buzz as well.
The one thing that hurt me from that fight was those sunflower seeds, man.
Oh, they just and then they had to go and pick all of them up.
That's like $50 worth of sunflower seeds just gone.
So I could never when I was a little leaguer. I loved sunflower seeds, but I could never get the seed out of the actual without like getting. I'd have to use my hands to pick. I couldn't do it and then spit it out.
2 different flavors in each back, 1 different flavor in each back pocket. Usually something along the lines of ranch and bacon.
Ranch was my go-to. Ranch was definitely the go-to.
Big old lip in and just chucking them. Oh, fantastic times.
I mean, I loved sunflower seed. Just couldn't do it without the.
It's a skill.
My hands. It's definitely. I never went travel baseball. I never really did baseball for as long as I probably could have. So that skill just never developed.
Yeah.
Moving on from the fight, which was a little bit heated, you can say. Well, the team that's the hottest right now in baseball, well, that would be the guys that pack the car up in Northeast America, up there in Boston. The Boston Red Sox have won their last 7 games, and right now they have the top wild card spot.
They do.
They have
the Rays, the Blue Jays in the division.
It's still got a pretty sizable gap against the Yankees, 11 games.
Yeah. And I don't think you catch that, but I think if you reach that first wild card, I mean, even look at the situation like last year where they got hot at the end, snuck in, and they're playing in the ALCS. They're 2 games away from the World Series.
Especially now, you're a wild card team. You're the number 1 wild card. You're playing the worst wild card team now. So you're playing another wild card. I don't know. Is it a 1-game series, a best of 3?
I am not completely sure on the format. I just know that they added the extra team.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see because obviously the wild card was 1 game, but now with it being 2 different games and a division team, I think you got to make it at least a 3-game series. I would hope for a 5-game series, but
The more playoff baseball we can get, the better.
exactly. Who doesn't love playoff baseball? But they play. Their hitting has definitely started. They've always gotten contributions from Devers and Martinez, but the rest of their lineup has started. You saw earlier this month, Trevor Story really starting to get hot. Had the grand slam and a couple other things. He's got his batting average, Trevor Story, up to 227 with a 7. He's at a 2 WAR, Trevor Story, which is higher than JD Martinez. Crazy to say, but I mean, his OPS is at 719. Not great, but it's definitely he's improving, and he's kind of turned into that slugger hitter. You hope for more of an average, but he's now contributing.
And the big thing is these guys are stepping up when they need to. You got guys like Kike Hernandez out right now. Chris Sale's been down all year. Whitlock's out. They got a lot of dudes down on the IL, and they just ripped off 7 straight to jump up into that top spot. And if they can keep this rolling, Sale's coming back soon. You get Kike back with Verdugo staying hot.
Bogarts has been good. He's at a 2.9 WAR, 874 OPS. I mean, him and a Story down the center of your infield is spot on.
It's looking like they need to give that contract to Devers. Rafi's been balling out this year.
He is a top player in this league, and he's going to get his money. But that's what you expected from this lineup. What the big questions were in this lineup, and what really set them back was their pitching. They had Nick Pivetta was terrible for the first month of baseball.
Yeah, I drafted him, dropped him after 3 starts. Now he's killing it.
He's down to a 3.25 ERA, got a 1.11 WHIP. He's been fantastic the last. Nathan Eovaldi, who is you're supposed to be your front end rotation guy with Sale out. He didn't start too great. Now down to a 3.16 ERA. Rich Hill. Oh, I love me some Rich Hill, the old veteran. 4.09 ERA. That's serviceable for a 4-5 kind of guy that can come in and out of the lineup. Oh, the biggest surprise to me has been Michael Wacha. This guy has been in the 5s ERA the past how many years? He's a 6 starter, a 6, not a top 5 starter, maybe a bullpen guy. He has been fantastic for them, starting 2.34 ERA. He's started all 12 games. He's 6-1 in those games. Has a 1.04 WHIP. How are you getting
anything better than that? You can't.
He's having a career year, which is insane to me. Now if you look at the actual splits for their entire baseball team, because it's not just the starters, it's the bullpen that's really been pulling its weight right now. In the month of May, let's check the month of May. Last month, what the pitchers their ERA as a team was in that month was 4.44. It's not good. It's not good. And that's not winning baseball. It's not going to get you to October baseball. Oh crap! I pressed June or July. I meant not June. We're getting to July. Not yet, but close. In June, their ERA 2.66. Spectacular.
And they're getting their ace back. I mean, right at this time, they're hitting their strides. You get your ace back into that rotation. Give everyone else even an extra day of rest because Wacha's been so hot.
You could do a 6-man rotation because you don't want to overpress Sale because he's been getting hurt so often. You don't want to force anything. Just let it come to you. If you feel anything, don't overwork him. I think it's
rotation. Exactly. They've got the guys.
The way they're pitching right now, they can afford that. If they go back to the way they were pitching in May, then you're going to add a little more stress to Sale, and that could be a little dangerous. But I loved the Red Sox coming into the year. I had them as my second wild card coming into the year. Crazy enough, I had the Yankees missing the playoffs. Freezing cold take.
Yeah.
I just didn't think they did enough to improve. Well, you know what? My bad. Freezing cold take exposed. But I did, and I remember because I still had my radio show at Indiana on WIUX, and I was really worried about them. I was very worried about the Red Sox. And I was pretty much giving up on them. And
They were terrible at the beginning of the year.
They couldn't hit. Their pitching was one of the worst in the league. Their bullpen wasn't good. It just nothing seemed to click. And then all of a sudden, at the same time, everything just turns around like that. We could start to make our pitches. Oh, we're seeing the ball better now. We can start to get those hits, those clutch hits. You're getting out of those stress innings. You're forcing double plays when there's runners on. You're not allowing people to score. They've been doing all the little things, and it's really starting to add up. And that division's going to be fun. Like everybody knew that division was going to be with that and the NL West. Those are the two divisions where you're like, it is so deep. I mean, I think all four of those teams end up making 4 out of 5 of those AL East teams make the playoffs, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, the AL wild card is going to be something. It's going to be must-see TV at the end of the year.
Exactly. And you're going to have in the post, if all 3 of those make it, the two of the teams, the second team in the division and the 4th place are going to play in the wild card.
Yeah. It'll be the first time ever we'll have 4 teams in a division in the playoffs.
Exactly. And then if they win, whoever wins that wild card game from the 3rd seed will play the Yankees. So they're going to have the winner will play 2 division rivals in both, which is ludicrous. So that the rivalries right there, it's going to be crazy.
I'm going to say something right now. By the end of the year, the Red Sox will be the last team standing from this division.
You mean after the postseason, you think they'll get farther than the Yankees? Okay. In my early predictions, I had I think I had the White Sox making the World Series, which looks terrible right now. But I had the Blue Jays and the White Sox.
Yeah.
I think the Blue Jays could still do it. I think they need to get I think Vlad Guerrero's had a good season, but compared to his season last year, but Bo Bichette, but when those guys when they're hot, bro, like Teoscar Hernandez, you need a little more production from him. But they've gotten guys like production from Alejandro Kirk. Like, who would have thought that? So I think they could get hot as well. This division's so deep. I wish, as we were talking about Ohtani, I wish I could see the Angels in the playoffs, but it's not going to happen. Playoff trail, please.
Do you want to do a little hot taking right here? We'll give our NLCS, ALCS predictions at the almost halfway point.
Well, how about this? We'll save that for All-Star break.
Okay.
So once we're at the exact halfway point.
I'll be thinking.
Yeah, definitely. But before we get to the All-Star break next week, you know what's getting announced, right? The All-Star game starters.
Yes,
So let's go through who you got at each position starting for your All-Star team, because it's a lot tougher than you might think on some positions might be easy. Some positions are a lot harder. We'll start with you at first base.
All right. So I think this is an easier vote for me as a Cubs fan and as a manager of the Grand Theft Autos with my starting first baseman, Polar Bear Pete Alonso. It's a lot easier for me to make that decision knowing that Paul Goldschmidt's over in St. Louis. So, his team's been winning. Alonso's leading the NL in bombs. You want that power streak from your first baseman. I'm going Pete for the NL.
Pete's also leading the league at RBIs.
Yeah. I mean, what else can you ask for your first baseman?
I'm torn because I obviously, as a Mets fan, I want to go Pete. But I think Goldschmidt, just if he didn't have that high of an average, because obviously average is not everything now, but he's hitting 342 and he's slugging. So I think Pete's probably 3rd or 4th at MVP, but I think Goldschmidt right now is 1 or 2. So as much as I want to give it to Pete. And I think he definitely will be an all-star. I think right now, I have to give it to Goldschmidt.
Yeah, I Goldschmidt's definitely the right pick, but I 1,000,000% let my bias influence this.
Moving to the AL. Now, like I said before, Vlad Guerrero Jr. #1 right now, and Ty France #2 in voting. Vlad Guerrero still having a great year, 18 home runs, 45 RBIs, 269 average, 868 PS. But he's not having the year he had last year, which might be unsustainable. He was having a ridiculous year last year. Still a top first baseman in the league. But I'm going to give it to my boy, Ty France, playing out in Seattle, hitting for average, got 10 home runs. So he's hitting for a bit of pop as well, 45 RBIs, and really trying to push this Mariners team to a playoff berth. I haven't for back-to-back seasons. I gotta go Ty France here.
How can you not pick the guy on America's team?
I mean, listen, Vlad's had a great year, and he's going to continue to have a great year. But I think just what Ty has meant to that team this year, I'm going Ty France.
I'm 100% with you. 100% with you.
All right, second baseman. Who you got in the NL?
Second base. This is the easiest pick of the day for me. The most electrifying player in baseball, future Hall of Famer, Jazz Chisholm Jr. 45 RBIs, 14 bombs, 14 Euro steps to home plate, 864 OPS. It's a no-brain decision for me.
Well, I like Jazz is going to be an all-star, and he is so electrifying. My bias might be taken over a little bit here. I got Jeff McNeil. I just think the way he puts the ball in play and what he's not that power hitter. He can be power. He's got 4 bombs. He's got 33 RBIs, 851 OPS. If you leave a hanger or a meatball, as in our title,
it's like a moonshot.
He will hit a moonshot. But he's the guy that when guys are on base, because he's after Pete and he's after Lindor, he hits usually that 5-hole or that. So like him and Canna, they're the guys. The guys are on base, or you need to, or there's 2 outs. You need to start a rally. They're the guys that just get the single, get the double, get the runs in, or just they move the players. They keep they pass the baton so well, and the way I think he is literally the perfect hitter behind power hitters. So I'm not gonna fault you if you go Jazz, but I got Jeff McNeil here in the second base slot.
I respect fan favorite.
Exactly.
Might see some of that from me a little later.
Moving to the AL, I don't. There's only really 2 options for me. One of them's not getting enough love. That's Andres Jimenez, man, in Cleveland. Coming from the Mets in the Lindor trade, I thought Jimenez was going to be a very good player. Guy is quick, very good defensively, and similar, can put the ball in play. What I didn't expect was he's got more pop than I thought. He's got 8 home runs, 35 RBIs. He can hit the ball pretty far. He can go over the wall a couple times if he wants to. And I just don't think because he's in Cleveland, he's not getting enough love. That Lindor trade does not look as bad. I think for both sides. I think both sides, that's a win-win deal. I think Jimenez is going to be their second baseman for at least another 5 to 10 years. But he definitely should be an all-star. But he's not my pick. It's Jose Altuve. This dude is the best second baseman in baseball. Doesn't get the love because after, the whole cheating scandal, had a down year. Just needed to readjust himself. This dude is an animal. The small strike zone probably helps him out a bit. And even with that small body frame, 15 home runs. Dude can hit moonshots, especially in that small Houston Park. Hits that, the over where the people are, that little wall so well. Exactly. It's got to be Jose Altuve.
Yeah, I agree with you there. He's back, having another great year, going to be another all-star starter, adding to that resume that's kind of starting to stack up towards we might
I'm curious. I am very curious. That is a topic I would love to discuss more because with the cheating scandal, how's that going to look compared to the steroids?
The numbers are there.
And it was one. And you don't know how many seasons was it? 1, 2, 3.
One season.
Exactly. And now you're looking at it afterwards. And so do you? How much are you gonna put on his career? Is it gonna be like the steroids where somebody, like a Bonds, doesn't get in? But Bonds was taking steroids for years. So I will be very curious to see how that affects his resume when he's trying to get into the Hall. Moving on to third base.
National League.
I think it's pretty obvious. Who do you got?
It's an easy pick. I mean, the guy's been his team's whole offense all year. They're in the wild card spot. They're looking great. And that is Manny Machado from the Slam Diego Padres. Shout out Blake.
I mean, that deal when he first signed, people were like, why is he going to San Diego? It's looking like a great deal. I mean, he does. People always questioned him. He was never really he never really got I wouldn't say respect, but he was never, when you could look at the top third baseman in the league, he was always not the top of the top, but the next year of the very, very good all-star worthy. But I think he's finally starting to put himself in that other category where he is one of the best third basemen in baseball, and you got to respect him for that. 46 RBIs, batting .328. When you think of Manny Machado, you don't think of a guy that just puts the ball in play that often, and he does that, especially this year.
He's had to really step up with Tatis being out this first part of the season. He's done exactly that and put them in a position to make a run for the playoffs, maybe even a run for the division.
Especially, they've had San Diego's offense has kind of been a little bit of a disappointment. Like Jake Cronenworth hasn't had that great of a year. You know, they're not getting contributions from Hosmer. Started out good, but is starting to fade like people thought maybe.
Trent Grisham's been bad too.
He's been terrible. And Manny Machado's like, just climb on back. I got you guys. But once
backpack.
Exactly. And now moving to the AL, there's two options, but we talked about this guy last week in the show. Gets nowhere near the respect he deserves. Top 5 player in baseball, in my opinion. Dude hits for average, hits for power. And you want to talk about carrying an offense. This is the definition of a dude who carries an offense. That's Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians.
I can't fault you for that pick, you know. As we said, you know, I think he's a top 5 player in baseball. But I'm looking at the numbers right now. I'm looking at who's hot, a team we just talked about coming into the break, and I'm going with my guy Rafael Devers. You know,
I can listen. I think it's him or Ramirez. It's Devers or Ramirez. I just think Ramirez has been more consistent throughout the entire year. Devers in the month of April wasn't putting. I mean, it wasn't awful.
He's gotten back and above the tracks. I mean, he's at 333 right now, 17 bombs, 5 points on the OPS lower.
Listen, he's been fantastic. I just don't think Jose Ramirez gets enough love. And what he means to that Cleveland Guardians team is he might be more important to that team than almost any other player in baseball to their team.
And he's the only guy in the lineup, so he's got no protection. Like
Ramirez, or like we said, Jimenez is okay. They got Owen Miller had a good month.
Steven Kwan's been back up to decent.
Yeah, you know, Josh Naylor sometimes, but like they'll have a couple good, maybe a good month, a couple good weeks, but they're not reliable guys except for Jimenez. So you're only scared of though Ramirez. That's the only guy you're like, this is the guy we cannot let us beat.
Yeah.
That beat us. All right. Moving on to shortstop. This one is one of the more tricky ones, in my opinion. Who you got in the NL for your shortstop?
For me, this is really easy. You know, this guy always hitting for average, leading the league in average a lot of the times. One of the fastest guys in the league. Phenomenal defender. Even starting to hit for a little bit of pop this year. He's got 10 bombs right now, and that man is Trey Turner.
I like the fact that he played for the Nationals. I think Trey Turner is one of the most underrated players in baseball.
How do you give up Scherzer and Trey Turner?
I mean, they got so much back, I will say. But still, Turner, now that he is one of my favorite players to watch in this league.
Definitely. He's electric.
Oh, absolutely electric. He is not getting my vote, though. I would love to give it to Lindor, and Lindor should be an all-star this year, 100%. The amount of RBIs, the bombs. I think the only thing holding Lindor back is his average hitting 246. If he was hitting at he didn't need to hit at a 300 range. That's not his game. But if he was hitting at a 265, I'd give him the nod. Francisco Lindor would be my guy. 260, 265. But this guy has changed his team's entire dynamic from going from, we talked about him last week. It's at the bottom of the lineup, and he's become a top of the lineup type guy. You know what I'm going to relate him to? His teammate, Austin Riley, who was kind of a disappointment until last year, had a breakout year, and is continuing to do that, is a very big part of that Braves offense. And I think you're seeing that kind of performance this year from Dansby Swanson. Hitting 304, 13 bombs, 43 RPIs, 871 OPS. He was always an average third baseman. Average defensively, average at the plate, just average. Just nothing bad with that, but just average. And for where he was supposed to be, it was a bit of a disappointment, especially with that stacked Braves lineup. But now maybe you'll lose a Freddie Freeman. I know they got Matt Olson, though. But you lose a couple guys. Albies now hurt. Dansby Swanson forced to step up, and he has done that. And it is changed the dynamic of that Braves lineup.
I've got a little bit of a Dansby bias. Him and Schwarber were the same draft class, and of course Dansby goes first, Schwarber goes fourth. I don't even know why I have a personal vendetta against him, but it's still there. And I like Dansby. He's grown on me a lot these past couple of years. Like you said, the improvement that he's shown, he's just really grown into that first pick status.
Yeah, and obviously I don't like him being a Brave, but you watch his swing, it is so smooth. It's one of the most beautiful swings in baseball.
I got to see him and Walker Buehler at Vanderbilt at the College World Series when I was a kid, and it was, and like, you knew they were going to be stars just watching those guys.
Yeah, they had different written all over them.
Yeah.
To the AL. Now, I'm surprised. The number one leader is Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette not having that great of a season for what I thought he was. I thought he was going to build on last year. I mean, he's not having a bad season, but for what the Blue Jays are and what I thought he was going to be, I thought he'd hit like 280. Be at around 800, 850 OPS. So I'm not saying he's having a terrible season, but he's not living up to expectations, in my opinion. And the fact that he's first is kind of shocking to me. And it's got to be the guy that's second to me. It has to be. That's the one player that's helping the White Sox. The one player that's really trying to pull this team to what they should be. And that's Tim Anderson. Hitting 339, not hitting as many home runs, but he's getting the extra base hits, whether it be from the doubles. So his OPS is still pretty high with 844. Not a lot of RBIs, only 19, but his team's just not getting on base. So that's not, I can't really fault him for that. He's getting the extra base hits. I think he's going to need to start producing some home runs if he wants to really help this White Sox team, because they've been awful.
They need the runs.
That or please fire Tolino La Russa. Oh my God, he needs to go. But he's been I think he's been the best shortstop in the league this year.
I've got a bit of a shocker for you. And it's not
really
you're thinking I'm thinking right now. The top two guys at vote getters are Bichette and Tim Anderson right now. Their teams, Tim Anderson's obviously team's not performing like you expected them to.
No.
Blue Jays have had a little bit of a disappointing season as well. A lot of people thought they'd be running that division. And, even in probably third place, you got a guy like Xander Bogaerts who's hitting 330 right now, 873 OPS.
Are you going Correa?
I'm going Correa.
Wow. Okay. Bah.
Coming in, leading these Twins team to a lead spot in the division. Nobody expected this. And he started out cold as ice.
I was going to be like, he was terrible from the start. People were like, oh my God, he's going to opt out, or he's going to opt in because he's not going to be able to get that kind of money. And he's really turned it around, hitting 300 right now. The home run in the
first place Minnesota Twins.
I mean, I think a lot of people assume they'd bounce back. They have so much talent, but just you didn't expect them to overtake the White Sox. And with their playing so well and the White Sox playing so bad, I mean, that's what happened. So Carlos Correa has had a very sneaky good year. And I definitely think, if you look at this, if they take 3 shortstops, which they could for the All-Star game, if they do, I think Correa's the guy. I think you're going to take Anderson. I think he has to go.
I don't know why Bichette's in first place. Is it just because Canada's so popular? Like, they've got the
probably
voting for them? Or
yeah, we got to get Tim Anderson.
Sniffing third.
Yeah, no, it should. The top 3 should be Anderson, Bogarts, and Correa. I think,
agreed.
And I think at least 2 of those will make the All-Star game. It's just a matter of which ones. I don't hate it, but not where I would have gone, but definitely a bit of a bomb. But I like it. I definitely like it. Showing a bit of uniqueness there.
Yeah. All right, let's.
I know who you got at catcher. Tell me why you got Wilson Contreras.
I mean, he's the best catcher in baseball right now. Defensively, he's grooming a young Cubs staff right now to an okay ERA. Keegan Thompson, Justin.
Okay ERA.
They're performing okay. Back and Hendricks has had a down year, but
Stroman
Contreras has played into the developing of those young guys, and he's doing it at the plate too. He's the heartbeat of the offense. 31 ribbies, 877 OPS as a catcher, hitting 268. Not the power you want to see from Wilson, that he showed that he can hit for a lot of power, but 12 bombs, you like that every day of the week, and it's the best catcher in baseball for the Chicago Cubs, man.
I mean, everything you just said, I agree. He's been the best catcher in the league and catcher is it's probably the thinnest position in baseball right now. And Contreras is playing like a top. I would listen if he was playing in other positions, would he be the best in their position? Probably not. But he'd still be an all-star level. But with the thinness of the position and how well he is playing and the way he's not getting any protection, it's got to be Contreras. It has to be Wilson Contreras.
Yeah.
And I think it's just as easy in the AL. Who would have thought? Nobody would have thought it would have been this guy. I just love the way he looks at the plate. Big guy, a little on the shorter side. He just mashes baseballs. Alejandro Kirk for the Toronto Blue Jays has to be the guy. He's having maybe a better season than Contreras. You could argue it.
Yeah. I don't know if he's seen as much time, but
he's not getting as much. He's getting a lot more protection in that lineup. That's the only. I think I would take Contreras because he's more consistent, has done it at this level. So I trust him more to be in the back half of the year, similar to his numbers now. But Kirk, 323 average, 10 home runs, 31 RBIs, 940 OPS for Alejandro Kirk. Maybe I would have thought maybe Bo Bichette would have that. I would have thought Vlad Guerrero would have that. I thought Teoscar Hernandez could have that. If you told me he has their best OPS on the team, what are you smoking, man? Like, I would not have. Nobody would have thought that to start the year.
So you've seen this guy, right? Like a little bit shorter, kind of chubby. I want you to take a guess on how old this guy is.
I think he's like 28, isn't he? Or he's younger in this? 27?
He is 23 years old.
Oh my God. Alejandro Kirk is 23 years old.
23 years old, and he's got 3.4 WAR this year.
And remember, they got Moreno in the so he might Kirk might they might do a DH, or one of them plays DH often. He's only 23. That's crazy. He's 5'8". How are you 5'8"? How much do you think he weighs?
233.
What?
233.
You think he weighs 333 pounds?
233.
Oh, I was gonna be 333, bro. Oh, that's like bigger than Bartolo Colon.
Yeah, I see it right now. I was looking at
265. Wow. And he mashes, dude.
Yeah.
So he I mean, with some of the guys having, I wouldn't say bad years, but down years in the Blue Jays lineup, he's been able to he has really helped them stay afloat and keep battling and have that wild card position.
And keep the Grand Theft Autos securely in first place.
But all right, moving to the outfielders. Give me your top 3 outfielders in the NL.
Okay, so easy choice. Number 1, Mookie Betts. I mean, this guy, year in, year out, he's going to be in the MVP conversation. 273 average, cooled off a little bit recently, but
with the injury, I think he was probably a little feeling. That's why they put him on the IL. But he always got, before you get to your next guy, he was definitely getting disrespected a bit to start the year. Like when you would name your top 5 or 10 players, some people were not naming Mookie Betts in their top 10 players. I'm like, you're missing somebody here. I just think like with all these young guys coming up, people forget Mookie Betts is still like, he is it. He's the best player on the Dodgers, who are the best team in the league.
Yeah. My second spot, no surprise here, coming back from the injury, still as hot as he always is, and that's Ronald Acuna Jr. I mean, this guy, his spray chart, I could hang it up in my wall as art. That's how pretty it is. It's everywhere. Hit to all fields. I love that in an outfielder. 5-tool guy. You can't ask for more.
I think once Trout's gone, I think you're going to have a similar, if you follow hockey, the past before McDavid and them, it was 2 guys right at the top. It was Ovechkin and it was Crosby. And it was, who did you like more, Ovechkin or Crosby? It was 2 guys fighting for that position. I think once Trout's gone, you're going to see that between Soto and Acuna. I think they're going to take over this. They are, I think, going to be the best 2 players in this league. What he can do, I argue with myself on who's better each. One day I'll say Trout. The next day I'll say Soto. He is so special, Acuna, and it kills me to see him on the Braves doing what he does.
My last spot. A little bit of a surprise here, but not to me. I see this guy play every day.
Happer.
315 this year from the left side, where last year he had his worst season. Switch hitter is a bright spot in that Cubs lineup, and you don't find much of those these days. And that is Ian Happ. 835 OPS, 279 average, and stellar defense.
I like Happ. I think he's having definitely a bounce back year. Definitely gives some vigor to that lineup. A dark horse. I think, I know you're not gonna like this. A dark horse to be traded at the deadline. But I agree with you on Betts and Acuna. Here's my thing though. I think that you have, I like to say, hey, listen, because center field is different than the other 2. I think you can have 2 left fielders or 2, but I like to have a center fielder vote. And somebody who I don't think is getting enough love, I think he was like 11 or 10, something ridiculous. Brandon Nimmo of the New York Mets. This dude leads off for this team, on base machine. I mean, walks ridiculously, plays hard, runs, sprints to first base on walks. When people were talking, when they got Marte, Marte's going to play center, they'll move him out. Nah, put Brandon Nimmo in center. He's been fantastic. I think a week ago he had one of the better plays I've ever seen from him with a diving catch in center field. He's been fantastic for us. Very underrated. 278 hitter. Has a bit of pop. Hit a home run a couple days ago. 5 home runs, 797 OPS. He's not going to bring you that much power, but he's going to get on base for those power guys. And he's going to play good defense. And he is just one of those guys that you need to have in your lineup. One of those chemistry, one of those locker room guys.
That's even more of a homer pick than Happ, man.
I listen. I think you got to have a center fielder in there, and I think he has been. I think he's been the best center fielder in the NL. I think if I thought maybe you take another corner outfield, I think you can. I don't know if he makes it, but I think there should be a center fielder starting. All right. But we'll move on to the AL.
We'll move on. Yeah.
Move on to the AL, where I think some of these are a bit more obvious than others. First one is Mike Trout. Had one of the worst a little funks to his career, going, what was it, 0 for 23, 24, striking out left and right. Well, he's back to hitting 291 and a 1054 OPS. Nothing biggie, 22 home runs, 45 RBIs, 1054 OPS. Not too shabby, like absolutely ridiculous. The second guy, I believe, let's scroll a bit. Where is he? Where is he? Do 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 do. Sadly, there he is. Aaron Judge. AL,
No brainer.
probably the AL MVP right now. We'll see if he can. As a Yankees hater, it pains me, but he's been absolutely ridiculous this year for the Yankees, leading the league in home runs at 28. He's got the power, can put the ball in play. It's been so clutch for the Yankees this year. In the series, the 4-game series versus the Astros, 2 walk-off hits, 295, 1009 OPS. I mean, the numbers speak for itself. Hopefully he causes pandemonium in the Bronx and leaves this year, but he's been everything for the Yankees this year. He's not going to the Cubs, but all right. But
you got at that third spot.
The third spot I think is a little more challenging. I think there's a couple guys. I think if Trout wasn't a center fielder like he was in his earlier days, I would definitely consider George Springer having an underrated season.
I like that.
Giancarlo Stanton could definitely be considered. I'm not as big. I'm kind of torn though. I think Buxton could definitely be an option. I just want him to stay a little more healthy. That would be, but I think it's got to be Taylor Ward.
Yeah, he started off the year astronomically hot, and it's kind of cooled down a bit, but the numbers are still so high.
So, I mean, he's cooled down a bit from where he was, but still playing very well. It's hitting 310, not as much maybe home runs as you would think with 11, but as a 959 OPS, he's for an Angels team that's had his ups and downs. He's been pretty solid for them.
Definitely. I can't hate that pick at all. I'm gonna stay the same first two as you and go with Trout and Judge. No brainers. Judge has stats right now that you could end the year with and still be
in the MVP conversation.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think if you did
Trout's
have them,
another Trout year. I mean,
I think we can have a conversation maybe later in the year whether he could be the greatest player of all time when it's said and done. Really?
Give you my quick answer right now.
Yes, I agree.
And then, my third spot, a guy who's just been consistent all year long, been a staple in a division-leading lineup, and that man is Kyle Tucker.
Ooh!
832 OPS, 48 ribbies, hitting 254. He's just been a constant in that lineup.
I was not expecting Kyle Tucker. That's not a bad pick. I think there's a couple guys ahead of him, but I definitely think he's in contention. I think I would have taken Springer and Buxton over him, but Kyle Tucker having a great year for the Astros in a stacked lineup. I think he's one of the guys that could be overlooked sometimes in that lineup.
He's severely overlooked. One of the best hitters in baseball, and he does not get enough credit.
Definitely does not get enough credit the way he puts the ball in play. Like you get like guys like you got the big ones in Altuve, then you got Brantley and Alvarez who get a lot, and we'll get to Alvarez in a second. But Kyle Tucker is definitely overlooked.
Yep.
All right, moving to the who's you got as your DH in the National League? There's only 2 options.
Yeah, this is an easy. I don't even have to think about it. MVP3 last year, and that man is Bryce Harper. What else could you? I mean, he's carrying the Phillies on his back.
Unfortunately, he won't be able to play, but he definitely.
But he has earned that spot. I mean,
most definitely, and as the Phillies being my arch nemesis in baseball, Bryce Harper is so much to that team, means so much to that team. He couldn't throw the ball, and he was still ripping baseballs out of the park. he's been phenomenal for them. 318, 984 OPS. Really going to hurt the Phillies, in my opinion, with his injury.
He has been worth every single penny that they gave him.
Definitely. And it wasn't looking like that the first 2 or 3 years. And I think he's really, once he started to get comfortable in Philly, turned it up. Just turned it up. And he's
having another MVP like year. These are better numbers at the All-Star break than he had last year. And he won MVP.
Because he went off. He had one.
Has the potential to do that. I mean,
I don't know now with the thumb, with him fracturing his thumb, but he's been fantastic, and you can't dispute him as your guy. I have him as well.
Yeah. Pretty easy pick.
And in the AL, it's just as easy for me. It is just as easy. I just mentioned him when we were talking about Kyle Tucker. I said we're going to get to him. And that is Yordan Alvarez. Dude could be like Bryce maybe would have gotten some MVP votes, but he played DH. So you've never seen a DH win an MVP. Yordan Alvarez will be in that conversation, and it is crazy how he gives no defensive value and still does what he does. I would at the end of this year, I would move him to first base because I think Yuri Gurriel's probably done. Age is definitely starting to catch up to him. And I think that you could do so much more flexibility with your lineup, and it adds more defensive value for him as well. But he mashes baseballs. 312 average, 22 ding dongs, and 1053 OPS. He's the heart of this lineup for the Astros, which is crazy to say because they got guys like Altuve, Tucker, Bregman, Jeremy Pena's. They got dudes, and he is the center of it all.
I'm on Yordan Alvarez's baseball reference page right now. 25th birthday today. Happy birthday, Yordan Alvarez.
Happy birthday, Yordan Alvarez. Only 25 years old doing these type of things, and he gets. Is he getting your vote?
He's getting my vote.
So he's getting the Moonshots and Meatballs seal of approval as the starting DH here.
This man has a 198 OPS plus, 98% better than the league average.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah, definitely some interesting picks from both of us. I think you had Kyle Tucker, and then I forget who your other big Happ. You had a couple. I had a couple. I'm interested to see next week who gets revealed. Hopefully, it's guys who are at least deserving of it. Looking forward to it.
You, Bo Bichette.
Another great week of baseball. Happy 4th. It's gonna be 4th of July on Monday, so we'll see if we can get in a show. Maybe we'll move it to Tuesday. I'll tweet that out. You can my Twitter will be in the YouTube description if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this on a podcast platform, it is jsharp_1216. Alt your Twitter.
Andrew_AULT_.
So yeah, you can catch us. Give us your baseball takes there. Tell us why we're crazy. Why Brandon Nimmo was the worst player to pick for the outfield. Why Ian Happ does not deserve to get into the All-Star game. You let us know. Thank you so much for listening to Moonshots and Meatballs. I'm Josh Sharp here with Andrew Alt, and we'll see you on the other side.